the Bishop of the Church and...
The United States is a nation beyond recognition this morning as the once peaceful streets are engulfed by violence and protests. The majority of states have seen thousands demand action over police brutality, but looting and chaos seems contagious. Beefed up security now protecting the White House and the controversial president inside. We have reporters covering the protests right across America for you at home. First to Washington, D.C., where thousands are gathering as we go to air. Amelia Adams is there. Amelia, the crowd's behaving yet?
Yeah, absolutely, Carl. This is a really peaceful protest at the moment. People have been kneeling, they've been chanting cries for peace, cries for the authorities to listen to them and to kneel with them. The difference here today after the last 3 days is that we have this giant new safety perimeter which has been put up in the early hours of this morning, stretching right around Lafayette Park. That is in front of the White House, where these protesters have come to gather to begin their protest every day, and now they cannot get in there to those that line of military, police and National Guard you're looking at, and that is causing a lot of anger too over the president's words and the actions here last night, when a lot of these people, ourselves included, were quite forcefully moved back by police, clearing the way for the president to do that extraordinary walk through the street, standing outside the church just behind me, holding his Bible. There's been a great deal of backlash to that, including from the Bishop of the Church and Democratic presumptive nominee, Joe Biden.
I won't traffic in fear and division. I won't fan the flames of hate.
Let me be clear about it. He did not come to pray. He did not come to express remorse or consolation. He did not come to share the grief or to provide hope to the thousands of young people who were gathered in the park that day.
This area of D.C. again today, Carl, basically in full military lockdown. The White House promising even more National Guard and military police here. The president himself has been out and about. He visited a national shrine today. And from his perspective, he said on Twitter, D.C. had no problems last night. Many arrests, great job done, overwhelming force, domination. Likewise, Minneapolis was great. Thank you, President Trump, thanking himself there. The protesters here are certainly not thanking him, and they're not going away. And also, just in the last little while, we've heard from former President George W. Bush. He has said this is not the time for us to lecture. It is time for us to listen. It is time for America to examine our tragic failures. And as we do, we will also see some of our redeeming strengths. Tragic failures certainly rings true, Carl.
Amelia, come back to you soon. Thank you.
Alexis Daesh is in Hollywood for us, and Lexi, protesters have now taken over a freeway.
Yeah, they have, Ali, and there is another really big demonstration going on here in the heart of Hollywood. This group was, we estimate, 500 plus, and what they're now doing is essentially circling the very centre of Hollywood, which is where we are now. They are trying to keep them out of here, and they've got the National Guard essentially forming a line here, and all their troops are stationed past this line. They've got all their armoured vehicles here, and they're on standby and trying to keep this demonstration away from this part of Hollywood, the intersection of Sunset and Vine. There are some protesters here as well, though. You can see on the corners, and here we have a protester with us. Ma'am, we're going live to Australia. Just tell me why you wanted to be here today and what your message is.
Because this country never protected black people from the moment they brought them here. They have mistreated them, and they are targeting them until this day, and we have had enough. We stand with the black community. We're tired of it, and they're lucky we're not looting right now, because they are trying to say that the looters are bad people. The media is not doing a good coverage of showing what is really happening. There are cops that are coming and destroying and looting as well. Misleading.
Thank you for speaking with us, ma'am. So as you can see, they're passionate, they're angry. As I said, there is another demonstration going on essentially on the freeway in downtown LA. They are trying to block the freeway there. A curfew kicks in this evening, Ali, 6 p.m. again. Last night, they made a number of arrests as a result of that curfew and as a result of some of the looting that was going on here in Hollywood. It'll be interesting to see if, with the second night of that curfew, whether it makes an effect, whether there is a deterrent after having seen all those arrests last night, Ali. But at the moment, things seem to be under control here, and as I said, plenty of troops on standby.
All right, Lexi, we'll check in with you a little bit later. Thank you. And protesters in New York are right now marching through the city chanting Black Lives Matter after 24 hours of violent clashes with police. It comes after looters hit a police officer with a car in the Bronx, leaving the sergeant in a serious condition. Elsewhere in the city, tensions eased for just moments when this officer knelt before protesters.
We're going to continue marching peacefully. I promise you, all right? Have a good day. I love you. Let's go. Let's continue marching. All right?
And the lawlessness seen in the United States is spreading worldwide, with violence exploding on the streets of Paris. 20,000 protesters are right now rioting across the city, lighting fires, tearing down barriers and demanding justice for victims of police brutality.
An Indigenous teenager has been treated for a chipped tooth, cuts and bruises after this takedown, leading to an investigation of a Sydney police officer. Straight to Today Sydney reporter Gabrielle Boyle. Gabby, this emerged as protesters took to the streets in Sydney.
Yeah, this was really a sign of solidarity here in Sydney. 1,000 protesters, young, old, black and white, taking to the streets in what was very much a peaceful march for reconciliation. Of course, these protesters were walking alongside protesters half a world away in the US, offering their support to the Black Lives Matter movement. Let's take a look at a little of the protest from last night.
They're being killed everywhere, and it needs to be stopped. I'm here to support my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, my people of color from across this beautiful sunburnt country.
Alex, with regard to that video that has emerged of a New South Wales police officer taking down a young Indigenous youth on the street here in Sydney, a full investigation is now underway.
Gabby, thank you.